Welcome back, folks, to Talk from the Terrace on Celtic Fanzine TV, and please hit that subscribe button so you'll never miss an episode, and you'll see people like the lovely Joe Miller from Not The View, Celtic Fanzine, who's my guest today for a wee chat about St Johnstone game and look ahead to the Hibs game. And don't forget, folks, we're also available on the Celtic Soul Podcast Platform if you prefer your podcast in audio and don't want to look at our ugly faces. And outrageous, yeah. You can still catch us live, folks, at Celtic AM in our new venue, pre-match on match days in Glasgow, in Murphy's. And we'll be back on Saturday to take, as we take on Livingston. So please pop in, join the conversation, and we'll have some guests, some ex-players, and hopefully a good little get-together before we head to Celtic Park. So we kick off at 12, doors are 11, and we're normally finished up by about 1:45. Definitely final whistle by 2 to give you an hour to get you up to the ground. But before then, we have to go to Edinburgh, an away day. Hibs, I'm looking forward to it, Joe. You're very welcome back to the show, of course. And are you confident of us continuing our victory run as we go to Edinburgh? Because Hibs have dropped form in the last 2 games.
Yeah, they have, but even if they were still on form, I think it's more about us and how we're going to play. We're definitely looking 100 times better now. You mentioned that we've got Livingston this Saturday, but going back to that first kind of away game at Livingston, it was... Now, we could still be playing just now and it wouldn't have changed the way. We were absolutely shocking. And then you see this kind of turnaround and players moving for each other, buying into what Ange is wanting them to do. The work rate for me, when somebody's on the ball and the people off the ball, the work rate is just night and day now. Moving into space, making themselves available, looking for it, and not just standing and letting it all go by them. So I think it'll be a difficult game still through there with Hibs. It always is. But it is up to how we apply ourselves as always, you know. But especially now, we need to keep this momentum going after the European game as well. Again, not great opposition. They didn't really threaten as much, but again, that was down to us as well. So yeah, it's looking good. I didn't think it would come this quick, to be honest. The kind of the way we're playing there, you know, some other teams might be able to mess us up and get us out of stride, but I'm surprised, pleasantly surprised the way we're playing, and the players seem to be buying right into it.
Yeah, and Joe, I was surprised. You don't realise how many players we've brought into the team and to have to settle in. Like this time, I looked at the starting 11 on Saturday, and McGregor was the only one that was a regular in the team this time last year. Ralston wasn't in anyone's plans, certainly not Neil Lennon's. Rogic was his usual in and out of the team, and Turnbull hadn't. It was really November he came into the team. He started to make an impression in November. So, like, you're looking at the basis of a new team.
Yeah, I said at the start of the season after we got beat with Hearts, and it wasn't a reaction because we got beat with Hearts. I just thought this is going to be a long season. 1, it's a whole new squad of players near enough. 2, get the players fit and into the system he wants to play. I can't people go, what do you mean by it? We keep saying it, and see, just because we're doing okay with the last few games there, it's still a massive job and it's still ongoing. You know, as I said, opposition can disrupt the way Ange wants us to play, but it's up to the players. The perfect example for it, for me, was the first goal in Europe during the week there. We actually had the ball down at our penalty box, just at the corner of our penalty box. We played 4 passes. The movement was great. Jota's pass was sublime, you know, what a ball. And Kyogo's first touch, put it away. But I said to a lot of mates and a lot of people about it is, we usually lose that ball down there. That doesn't work up to a goal, you know. So that's a massive difference. And maybe if we're playing against opposition, I'll maybe have a look at it if I get any any tactics about them. They'll maybe pressure us more in defence, but happy with it because it's working and it's looking good, and it's great football. When it's working, it's great football.
But indeed, it was Giotto who was involved in that from the very first touch. He was down in that corner, and he's been so impressive. And then the big lad Georgios, he comes off the bench and he wins a header towards our goal when we probably no one would have challenged for that ball. That kind of way. Like he's really impressed me in the little bit I've seen. Yeah,
definitely. And even simple things like the defence getting these guys on a regular basis to play with each other as well. Yeah, some people just got overboard having a go at some of our players. I don't get it because you speak to any player, any ex-footballer, you speak to them as well. You don't just walk into a team and know exactly how your partnership's going to work with your centre half, your two full-backs, your midfield. You need to know what their strengths and weaknesses are. It takes a wee bit of time to build up, to go, I'm not going to step forward when he's got the ball, I'm going to hang back a bit. Or if he's pushed out too far to the right, I'm moving over. And these things just take time, and then the players don't think about it so much. It just then becomes a natural progression of how you play. And the chopping and changing from last season and even the start of this season because of necessity, we've had to changing players and players that are injured. You don't get that continuity then. It's kind of lost. You can be a poor team and not have players of the best ability, but if they play with each other regularly, know their strengths and weaknesses, you get results. St Johnstone against us tried to stop us playing, didn't really push much anything in their own favour, but that's a team that won 2 cups last season because that's probably their thing, is a cup run. It seems like that, it can do it, and they know their strengths and weaknesses. So it's, again, I'm happy for the defence as well, and the players that get sick.
Yeah,
I can give stick to players as well, but I just think some of it was uncalled for.
Over the top on Talk from the Terrace. Joe, I'd listened to Scott McCrory's excellent podcast on the Homeboys channel. He does a Room 101 and he brings in either an away fan or a journalist from that team, but generally it's a fan. And he had the St Johnstone lad on, I forget his name, and he was really good talking about the 2 cup runs, and I'm thinking, maybe they can come, with that kind of cup mentality and scrape a result against us, but then I interviewed Scott then on Celtic AM, and he said no. He says we should pump them, and everyone was of that opinion. Rudy Vata was with us. He was of the opinion that we'd score plenty of goals. But something that the St Johnstone lad said was, he said, "Oh no, it'll be damage limitations when we go to Celtic Park because we're not playing well." And for someone that's won 2 cups, you expect a bit more positivity. But he was exactly right, because if I was a St Johnstone fan, I'd feel hard done by going home. I don't think they'd have shot and goal for the whole game. They just parked the bus, defended really well, but I don't think Joe Hart's ever going to have an easier game between the sticks for Celtic.
Yeah, but I think you'll see a difference in Johnstone when we play them in the semi-final of the Cup. Their whole mentality, I think, will change. I think they'll change tactics as well. There's no point coming to a cup game and try to play for a draw because it gets you nothing. They really need to try and score. So that'll be for our benefit, I think, because if they have to push and commit people, then that's going to leave space for us. So I think you'll see a difference in Johnstone come the cup game. If we don't, fine. I'm happy with that still, but it's all about, again, how we play. And if they do push out and try and get a goal and try and win the game, I think we'll still do okay in that situation.
Yeah, Joe, I had a quick point with you on Saturday evening before you went to the Billy Bragg gig in the Barrowlands and bumped into McCool's for a post-match point, and you were holding court there with Jerry and the Not the View boys at the end of the bar, and unsurprisingly the conversation turned to the referee's performance.
Oh. It's another typical example of we won, but it was despite the referee. And I must say the linesman as well. But just, I don't even need to look back at some incidents and just think, well, you can clearly see that. You don't need to look back. You wouldn't need VAR again. It should have been a sending off. We should have had a penalty, another penalty. It was just the fouls they were getting away with, constantly fouling, and you just think, nah, another poor performance.
Yeah, I can imagine if Paul Larkin had hair, it would have been all pulled out.
That's why he's not got here.
Yeah, it was just so blatant. It was just so bad, and like we can't expect much more, Joe, in the semi-finals in Hampden, can we, against St Johnstone from these referees?
No, and again we won, but it was despite the officials. It was absolutely atrocious refereeing. And people, as soon as we complain about referees, it's immediately, what he's like, it's a conspiracy, blah, blah, blah. It's not a conspiracy when you can clearly see decisions given the way it's done in Saturday there. It's just not a conspiracy thing. We just know what it is.
Yeah, and like, your man, there's a Gallo, the ex-referee that does the ref watch on Sky Sports News. We should get him on, Joe, because he's a good Tim. Because if not, we're going to have to get Paul Larkin on to do it. Like, it's just, yeah. It's just like, it's funny, we win 2-0 and the conversation piece after the game was referee.
Yeah, I know. But it has to be, you can't just accept because you won and you beat the opposition and you beat a bad referee that makes it okay.
In a long line of referees who are shy, or biased, or both.
Well, there's shite referees and there's just ones don't want to give us certain decisions. Simple as that.
Yeah, no, but the positives from the game, Joe, is Jota has been outstanding, and again, he candidate for man of the match. I think he actually did get the sponsors man of the match, and then the big lad Georgios, I think that's his first name anyway. I can't pronounce the second one. He looked full of energy. Obviously his fitness levels aren't up yet, but he looks like a big bulky player, someone we need. We need a bit of muscle in that box. We've been kind of light for too long in the box. And then what's his name, Juranovic, I hope I pronounced that right because I'm terrible with these foreign players' names. He's back in the team now, and he looks a half decent player. Slots the penalty home as well, so that'll do his confidence good. And I think, Joe, over the last couple of games, we've noticed the bench is getting stronger, and the players coming off the bench are having having more of an impact in the game.
Yeah, definitely. It's given us a different option up front. Where actually, I watched how when players, the substitutions came on, how players moved about in different positions. So that's refreshing to see that, because it's sometimes when, if it doesn't come off for you and you don't score the goals and you keep playing the same way, it doesn't work. So it's good to have an option to move people about. Players look fairly comfortable in it as well. I didn't see anybody kind of huffing and puffing or just disappearing out of the game because of it, which is good. And he's up front. He's given us the option of a bigger man, fully a defence a bit, hopefully. But one of the most pleasing things is which should have been a red card for the St Johnstone player, was the Celtic players kind of about and stood up for their player. Now, that has been missing for so long. Sometimes you feel you should be running on the park to defend the players, because it's like the player that was getting fouled because nobody else seemed to. But that was, and I'm not saying they should go in and start a brawl, but going in and standing up for your fellow player when he's been the victim of, which should have been a red card,
assault.
Yeah, which was very pleasing as well. It's a good thing, and that's a bit of team spirit, which again, we could hark back to last season as well. Was just missing so much.
No, Oh, I've just got a picture in my mind, Joe, of you running onto the pitch.
Will it be the first time?
Amsterdam. I will say nothing about that. You didn't make it the whole way down. But folks, if you want to hear the Amsterdam story, it's on Joe's podcast when he was on the Celtic Soul podcast. I'm not sure what the episode was, but it's quite interesting, and you can hear about all Joe's punk exploits as well, growing up in Glasgow. But Joe, the manager, Ange, not a badge kisser, not a press, not into kissing the press's ass. I think when we're poor, he's quite honest. I think he doesn't shy away from doing the press, but he has he hasn't looked for excuses. But I think we know that with injuries that it's starting to look a bit better now, isn't it? It's looking like the squad are gelling.
Yeah, I was quite concerned after the Livingston game because it was just so poor. We were just so poor. Didn't see much happening tactics-wise, and I thought, Ange, you've got it wrong here. You need to change it. When they brought on the subs and all that, it just seems like more of the same. Wasn't going to crucify him for it. It is one of these seasons where you kind of go, we want to win the league, we want to win everything as always, but we kind of know in the back of our minds this isn't going to happen overnight, even though you want it to. So it's pleasing that the last few games things have changed. Obviously, it is with players coming back. I think we're only like 2 players out now, Big Julian and James Forrest. So injury-wise, so that's a great sign that most of the squad are going to be available. But Ange as well, it's like I managed to we got a lift, one of the boys' games, a lift back into McCool's after the European game there. And his first 2 questions from the media were pure negative questions, slagging off Kyogo and what was the other one? I wasn't such a great performance. And he handled it well, and I don't think he'll suffer the press try to railroad him and saying things that he doesn't want to say and all that, and keep to their agenda. So it was great to hear him just bat it away and slot the guy away as if, like, nah, I'm not having that. Not having that, mate, as he says all the time, So very good. I like the man. He seems you just and you see certain things out with the football, people sharing wee stories, wee snippets and all. I seen a wee bit. He was down at the stand seeing a guy who was not well. I think Celtic TV were waiting for him to come up for an interview, and he'll be up shortly. And he probably knew he had to go and do the interview, but he just kind of continued doing what he was doing with his fan. I think he was not well, so just wee things great. And he's not making a big show about it either. He's just doing it, So I think that's he seems like he's one of us. To me, he seems like one of us. He likes football. He likes playing it a certain way, and that's kind of the way we want it as well.
Yeah, and with the fancy dress season kicking off now for Halloween and Christmas, I'd say there's an awful lot of children going to be getting their dad's jumper on and a bit of stubble drawn in the face and going as Ange into the fancy dress.
And I'm not being cruel with this, but you need to put a wee pillow there. He's got a wee bit of timber like all of us.
Here, Joe, there's nothing wrong with that.
I wouldn't need it. I've got it already.
I'd actually need to lose a pillow to look like Ange. But Joe, right, I see you got your St. Pauli shirt on, your second team, or your girlfriend if Celtic is your wife. How's St. Pauli doing these days?
Oh, do you not know?
No. Top of the league, Joe.
We've been top of the league for about 3-4 weeks now.
Oh, magic.
We played Hansa Rostock on Sunday there, a team we absolutely despise, a lot of fascists, and they're just up the kind of road from us, and absolutely scumbags, and we absolutely thrashed them. So that kept us top of the league, 4-0 victory. So we're absolutely walking it just now, which is very surprising because New manager from last season came up through the ranks. It's a young team, brought a few players in now, and we kind of thought with the strength of the Schalke are in there now, HSV obviously, and there's lots of big names in that second Bundesliga. So we kind of thought, this is going to be a difficult season, but as I said, boys are playing some great football, banging in goals that way. Now, clean sheets as well. Now, we were always a guarantee. I said to my mates, it's always better than that. Joe, what about the game? And I would go, both teams to score, that's a cert. There would always be a kind of cert with some Pauli. But ain't this season, this is where it's been night and day, and some of the football's been great. As I said, top of the league now for 4 weeks or so, maybe more. It's just unbelievable for us. Absolutely unbelievable. Don't know if we'll be able to sustain it and keep players playing to form, or players get injury and all the rest of it. So we'll see how that goes. And Wednesday, which I'll be missing the game because I'm going through Edinburgh, Celtic, is the cup. We've got a cup game. So again, it's at the start of the season, I was saying to a lot of guys, I would like a cup run. It'd be great to get a proper cup run, maybe get to the quarters or semis, and God, how good it would be to get a final, you know. We've never done anything like that. But it's quite possible now because of the way we're playing.
Brilliant, Joe. I'll have to jump in the bandwagon sometime with you and get over to a game in Hamburg. Yeah, it's quite an experience. Yeah, and sample a few of those lovely German beers.
Oh, yeah.
What's the one they all drink? What's the one?
Astra.
Astra, yeah, Astra's the one. Yeah, I've actually had a few bottles of that. They sell it in traders, I think. And yeah, I've had a few of that. So, Joe, the other day I was rushing off to catch a flight. You were heading into the Barrowlands for Billy Bragg. How was the gig?
Yeah, so as I said, absolutely brilliant. Great man, great songs. Just a lovely guy as well, and he got the balance in between the songs and the chat as well. Absolutely rammed in the bars, and the guy's just a pleasure. I love him, you know, and it was just great. It's just great again to go back to live music and people there, and especially a place like the Bars. So that's quite good. So I'm off to a gig tonight as well in SWG3. I've got to see a band called Sports Team. So yeah, I went to a big gig at the Bars, to a smaller gig, and it's just great to get back to that again. It's you feel life has gone back to a bit of normality, you know. So, but you still need to keep safe.
Yeah, of course, Joe, and it's great. I know how much the football and the gigs mean to you, as it does to myself. We're not quite back at gigs over here yet, so I'll probably have to make me return to a gig in Glasgow, because we had hope for all the restrictions to be lifted on the 22nd. Nightclubs are back open, but there's just some grey areas around gigs. You can dance in a nightclub, but you can't dance at a gig. So, you know, strange one. But look, as you said, we all have to keep safe and keep an eye on things, because it's still out there. But yeah, it is great to be back. It's great to be back going to away games, Joe. I'm looking forward to tomorrow. I'm on an early flight in the morning, so plenty of time to kill, and sure, I might grab a beer or two. I might get a pint with you before the game as well, Joe. But yeah, hopefully we'll get you on again, Joe, and we'll be talking a bit more success for Celtic. It's great to have you back. It's been a couple of months, I think, since you were on the show. So thanks very much, Joe.
No, thank you very much. It's a pleasure as always, Andrew.
Yeah, and it's still your round.
Well, you popped in the other night. What did you do? You were playing like I've got empty pockets as usual.
Hold on a minute, Joe. Just for the record, did you buy me a pint? Did you buy me a pint on Saturday night?
I was buying the round.
No, I think I bought a pint, Joe.
He came in and went, I said, add him one on as well, please.
Folks, if you're watching in, you know it's Joe's round, and Joe knows it's his round, so he's getting it in Edinburgh. Come on, Celtic, let's do this tomorrow night. And Joe, as I said, thank you so much.
No problem, Andrew. Cheers, mate.
Hail, hail, brother.